So boom, what's going on, my guy Angus? How you feel, man?
Feeling good, man. Made it across the pond.
Made it across the pond. Nice to officially meet you. I'm bad with dates, but we've been back and forth a few times a year for what, a couple years now, a few years?
Yeah, a couple of years. Brian introduced us and
Right.
done the courses and so a few years, man.
Right, a few years, couple projects, stuff like that. So
But that,
great to
that
finally meet you.
virus, that virus
Hey,
locked
kind of
down the
set us back a
borders,
year or
man.
two. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah,
But I always like to thank my guests for coming to the show, man. Like I was saying to you a minute or so ago, I'm always honored to have people who want to sit down and have a conversation with me. Right. The name of the podcast is Moved by the Message. It's going through different iterations of, who I'm trying to reach out to, or I guess what I want to feed my audience and stuff like that. So it's going through different stages, but the heart of it has remained the same, and that's just leaving people with like something they can digest or something they can build off of, right? Whether personal development, getting through a tough time in life. So whatever that means to you, we'll have our conversation, but at the end of it, I'm going to have you leave something with people, all right? So we'll get to know you for a minute. This is real time, folks. So my man Angus has a flight to catch in like an hour or so. You know what I'm saying? So we won't do like a speed round, but we will have to get the goods faster. You know what I'm saying? Now this is how I start my show, Angus. Right? And I don't mean this in a negative way, because I'm just really getting to know you just now. You don't seem like the religious type, right? I'm not saying you are. We about to find out. And you don't even have to be, but usually how I start my show is I have someone start with a prayer or affirmation or whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is how other people affirm or whatever, but I like to open the show with just some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of being on one accord on like that higher frequency. So it doesn't have to be a prayer. It doesn't have to be an affirmation in a traditional sense. But if you could just open us up with maybe, something that resonated with you, like some kind words or an affirmation that you live out. Or if it is a prayer, it can be a prayer message. Can you open this up? No pressure, with something like that.
all right. Yeah, so something that's on top of my mind is a chat I had with a client last week. Is the path illuminates as you walk it. So sometimes we're trying to force what our passion is, what we want to do in life, and sometimes we're just learning as we go. And if we're forcing too much, we're kind of probably not in a state of creativity or really what we want to do in life. So saying to my client she wanted to switch around whether she does face-to-face or online, it was, you can test for a little while, just no face-to-face and go online, see how it goes. And then after that, adapt and see where you like. You go, actually, no, I really miss the face-to-face interaction with people, so go back to that. So I think if we can live life with a bit more adaptation than kind of like to force too much rigidity, we can kind of find that flow and what we really want to do. And for me, like, what's my purpose going to be? And, I'm kind of good with it changing, but I'm going to adapt, and that path illuminates as we walk it. So, yeah, one of my favorite quotes for sure.
That's fire, man. Appreciate that. I knew you come with some fire, man.
I had a few others as well, but we'll go.
So the second question is usually, the first question has been this way for years, is your name and where you're from.
So from London, and so my name's Angus Buckle. So I grew up in a place called Hounslow, so it's kind of next to Heathrow. So probably a lot of people know the Heathrow Airport.
And what do you do as far as occupation or your legacy that you're building?
So I'm a sleep coach. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, what is a sleep coach?" And it's more than that. My journey transitioned from being a personal trainer. I started out doing stuff in the park, doing like boot camps and boxing training with people, and then kind of transitioned into nutrition, training people in gyms as well, and just kind of stumbled across sleep. It was one of those things I just used to go to sleep. I didn't really think too much about it. And then I started to think, wow, I started tracking my sleep, did a genetic test. It really changed my life in finding I was a morning lark. My energy was on the next level, and it really had a big impact. And I thought, wow, these clients who weren't getting results in the gym with nutrition and fitness, this sleep was kind of like the missing link. It was this pillar that we just took for granted. And, the world being so overweight, the prescription medications in America, I think 70% of people are on a prescription medication. North of 70% are overweight or are obese and have chronic diseases at all-time highs as well. So I think sleep's this really easy fix for a lot of people that we can do naturally without all of the pill medications and the fad diets and everything else. I think sleep can fix a lot. So it's just something, it's like a rabbit hole we go down, as they're saying about passion. It's just a rabbit hole I went down, and then, started helping people. And now we actually educate health coaches and doctors to train them on how to coach their clients to sleep, because we've coached over 450 clients, which we're really proud of, and growing more. So, we want to impact people through our courses, our journals. We have a cookbook and stuff. We have loads of products to help people, and we want to do it naturally. Like, that's the main thing.
That's dope, man. And I know there's no cookie cutter answer to like where someone will begin, but
yeah,
you know what kind of society we live in. We want like a quick answer, a hack, the 5 steps to XYZ. So
yeah.
if someone was a busy professional and they need to know fast, like what's the first 1 or 2 things I should do to improve my sleep? What would those things be?
Yeah, I'd say the primary thing is light. So the sun is the giver of all life, and that the sun is going to hit our retina, signal to our master clock in our brain to release our hormones at a certain time. And if we're not getting enough, we might have seasonal depression. So in the winter, we might feel really down and sad, and we're wondering why that is. A lot of it's tied to the release of our cortisol and adrenaline to make us, be active and be seeking, goal setting and doing stuff in life. So if we can get enough light in the morning, that's the main thing I do with any client. If it's a CEO, busy mom, shift worker, athlete, it doesn't matter. Like the sort of 3 things we focus on is light, getting enough light in the morning, ideally sunlight, or we're getting artificial light. That will signal to our master clock to release these hormones, and wants to do it regularly. And then I would say 1 litre of water first thing in the morning. Most people just don't drink enough water. And so many people say, I feel great, like drinking enough water. Brain and body is majority water, so getting enough water. And then I would journal, getting your thoughts together, planning the day, and I kind of stack those 3 habits together. If somebody wanted to do one, start with light, and then kind of add the water. It's a nice, easy one. And then journal if you wanted to kind of like set your intentions for today. And I think a lot of people are reactive instead of proactive, like I used to be. So kind of having those 3 together, they'd be the foundation. Whoever I work with, doesn't matter. That's where I'd start.
And I know everyone has a specific situation, different work schedules, different social schedules, stuff like that. So there's not a cookie cutter answer to anyone's program, right? But a lot of times, what's the phrase? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. A lot of times people want to know how you do it, right? Exactly. Like how does my coach do it? So could you tell us, if you have one, which I'm assuming you have one, what's like your most ideal morning routine? Like how do you get the day started, and how do you wind your evening down? Because you talked about how the evening sort of sets up the morning, and you can get on build momentum. So could you tell us your morning, I guess, routine, so to speak, and then your evening routine?
So your morning starts the night before. So the evening routine, and it changes and it evolves. And it's a good point, is I wouldn't want someone to do my exact routine. So I give people a list of things they can consider and kind of add in. So the best routine I've had is where if I go to sleep at 10, I'm a morning lark, so I'm a bit of a granddad. I'm like winding down at 9 p.m. and going to sleep at 10. And, kind of 8 p.m. is the first sort of trigger. Sometimes we set alarms for our clients in the evening to say, right, disconnect from work, stop the technology, and actually just wind down and invest in that kind of where the brain is going to start relaxing, and then we can get into sleep and wake up and feel really good. So for me, about 8 p.m., disconnect from everything, technology-wise, work-wise, all of that stuff. Maybe watch a movie or something and just kind of relax, and it's about distracting the brain. For me, if I start meditating or doing breath, I just get distracted. I start thinking about business and stuff. So for me, it's about distraction. So maybe watch a movie, reducing light. So, just kind of having like a candle light and kind of like reducing the main light around you, and definitely just off the phone and disconnecting. That will help me get to sleep around 10 p.m. And then in the morning, wake up ideally around 5:30. And for me, it's about performance and activation. So I think a lot of sleep coaches just talk about going to sleep. But for me, I want to peak perform. I want to get the most out of my day. And it's about activation. So I'll start, I'll do breath work for 5 minutes, and then I'll go to a cold shower. And I was telling you earlier, like defeating the inner bitch in the mornings. So like most days, my nervous system's like, Angus, maybe we'll just skip it today, right? We won't have that cold water. And just go boom, and just get it on cold before we can negotiate ourselves out of it. So cold shower was awesome. And then I'll kind of sit down, journal, plan my day, get the 1 litre of water, and then probably get straight into like the peak brain activities I need to get done. And therefore I can make sure whatever the world throws during the rest of the day, at least I've kind of got those main things done in the morning. And ideally before other people have woken up as well. So like when the world's reacting, I kind of want to have most of my stuff done by like 9 a.m. And then I feel like I've got a jump start on people. So for me, that's an outline. But like the quote I said, I'm always adapting it. So I've had 10 things in my morning routine, then maybe 5 things, and then you travel to a different time zone. You're in a different place where you live. So it's always changing, but the foundations are kind of there, and then I just kind of twist, like tweak it and implement it. And sometimes an audiobook in the evenings worked for me for a bit, and I just really liked listening to books, an audiobook, because that gets you off of a screen. Because I was in Dubai in like a high apartment and got a great view. And then suddenly I'm living somewhere else that doesn't have that view, and then I actually prefer watching a movie. So okay. I'm always adapting it.
Got you. Speaking of that, what are you listening to or watching as far as like podcasts, audiobooks? What are you reading, watching, as far as like, to feed your mind or, to stay sharp? Right now too, meaning like
a specific thing?
Yeah.
So there's quite a few people in my industry, in the coaching, self-help industry. I really like Bedros Keuilian. He's sort of like a fitness
classic,
business mentor.
Yeah, classic.
He's a cool guy. He's kind of walked a path, and there's a lot of fraudsters in that kind of space. Listening to someone who's actually done it is important. Grant Cardone, I listen to some of his stuff. I'm going to a business event next week. A lot of people think he's maybe a scam artist and stuff, but I think he is just a good person who wants to help people. That's my opinion to some of that. And a really cool guy I listened to recently that's connected with Bedros is Wes Watson. He was a guy that was in jail for 10 years, but came out of these ridiculously high values, and kind of just showing what leadership is actually personifying the teachings and leading by example. Instead of a lot of people online are talking about all these things in concept, but not actually doing like the overweight personal trainer. Yeah, he's got skinhead and like tats and pretty muscly guy, but he looks the part, right? So he's been putting the work in.
Dope. Okay, yeah. So we were talking earlier. We were like halfway through our shoot, and I was telling you about how I sort of got into personal development, or like why I gravitate to things like that. Like all the books that I read, audio books, podcasts, are usually personal development, self-development, how to get sharper, stuff like that, how to get that edge. And I was telling you, it started with me when I was 13 with infomercials. I used to always catch the Tony Robbins, Get the Edge, right? What's his other one? What's the one that Unlimited Power or Ultimate Power or something like that?
Yeah.
I used to watch the real estate joints with Dean Graziosi, whatever, all of them, right? Because they just made me feel good. So I think, that early exposure to that made me just search for that more. Like, what other kind of personal development materials out here? So now I know all the names, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, like all of them. Jim Rohn, I know all the names, right? The Avengers, I call them, right? So that's how I got into it, personal development. That was my earliest experience with that. What made you want to get into that space? Because you're a trainer, right? That's sort of similar thing, right? Similar sort of mindset. What made you gravitate towards personal development, or just wanting to always constantly work on yourself and help others do the same?
It was when I used to personal train people part-time on the weekends, and in a day job was a sales job, because I always worked hard and it paid. And I realized in sales jobs, a lot of them just say, right, pick up the phone, off you go, right? And there's no training. And Grant Cardone had a few books, and I started reading them on sales. I think a lot of people talk about sales tactics and how you manipulate people with language and do all of this stuff. But Grant actually just sold honestly, and just kind of had, people are going to give a certain amount of answers, and just kind of having different ways to ask them. And I remember one time I'd read his book on the way to work, and I was charging a certain amount for a product, and he said people pay for the service. It's not about the price. So I increased the price, and the guy still bought it, and I thought, this stuff actually works. It was the first time I'd paid for like a couple of dollars book, made me a few $100s, and I thought, okay, right, now I'll invest in his courses, and that made me more money. Again, selling honestly, which I've always done in my life. I never, go for a lot of these tactics a lot of people do. So that showed it worked. And then I'd also been to a seminar, listened to people like Ed Milet, Tim Grover at one of Grant's events, and that that really was like, wow, these guys are doing it. These guys are well ahead of me, but they're sharing their knowledge. And I think that, like for Tony Robbins, I think a lot of people hate on him, but the amount of people he's impacted is really awesome. He's really shown people the way. You know, and eventually maybe you get to this point like him and Dina are, where you're doing all these like webinars and all this stuff, and people like us doesn't necessarily work, but I think they do help a lot of people. So sharing your knowledge, I think, like I shared with you, Richard Branson said it's, you know, kind of part of life should be sharing what you've learned, and I think that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I share the stuff online, is to help people and share that knowledge.
How do you think? Because you know it's important. There's many layers to like achieving a goal. It's not just like one thing you do. It's like multifaceted. Like it's many layers. And I know fitness is a huge part of like the way you view the world, right?
Yep.
And you know your energy levels, but also sleep. So like, what's the dance? Why is it important to like? How do they feed each other? How does exercise feed better sleep, and how does better sleep feed, you know, I guess your performance athletically or working out, stuff like that?
Well, I kind of look at it like a pyramid, and if the foundation is the mindset, so we want to change, we want to do more, we got to have that. You know, education is seeking growth, we want to learn, and we want more in life. And I think mostly it comes down to, you know, providing for our families and, you know, making the world a better place is the focus we should all have. So we got the mindset to do that, which is good. Now, the next thing I'd say, sleep, because that's the foundation of our health. When we get a good night's sleep, our hormones are going to be working as they should do. Our organs have all got timekeeping and clocks, and they want to have that regularity. And when we can get the sleep right, the brain is going to have more energy. We'll make the right nutrition choices. Now we're making the right nutrition. We're fueling our body. Then we can fuel our body, go to the gym, and kind of on top of that, we have a coach. So that's the way I look at it. But if we took this pillar out and just go, right, you've got the mindset, you're tracking your calories and macros, and you're going to the gym every day, but we took out sleep and it was average, none of these other results are going to be that great. So if we put sleep in and we get it right and we improve and we look to spend less time in bed. So the average person lives for 81 years. You sleep for 27 years of your life, third of your life, right? So the question is how efficient and quality sleep can you get? So therefore we can like sort of reduce the amount of time you spend in bed, wake up and feel fantastic and have more hours in a day. Like I've worked with millionaires who have added 3 more hours to their day. So they're super successful, running really fantastic businesses, but they're spending loads of time in bed. And they were doing a lot of things that they shouldn't have been doing. So we kind of worked on those and we shrunk the amount of time we spend in bed and they feel better. You know, 3 more hours a day. A lot of these people are like, do you know what? I can actually make a couple of $100,000 more a year now because you've given me so much more time. So that's the kind of way I look at it. If you get great sleep, everything else will be impacted positively. Take sleep out, even if you're in a relationship. Are you more stressed? Is cortisol more high? You know, are you as ambitious as you should because your brain power's not there? And then you're probably abusing substances like caffeine, sugar, alcohol, carbohydrates, making all those wrong decisions. So there's an element of not wanting to be too soft and going for perfect sleep every day. But we, on average, want to be getting 6 hours of quality sleep, maybe building on that like an NBA athlete might sleep 12 hours a day. So, you know, for them, it's about sleeping multiple times throughout the day. So that's the kind of way I look at the health formula.
Dope. So you mentioned earlier in I think before you did the opening affirmation or whatever.
Is that an
we talked about conquering the inner bitch, man.
Yeah.
And I think you sort of mentioned about like cold shower. I know you mentioned that when we were filming, but you talked about how that could also be a tool to conquer like the inner bitch, right? Like cold showers or cold therapy, what have you. And so can martial arts, right? Could you you've been kickboxing for some time now?
Yeah.
Could you tell us how both of those, you know, whichever order, how can martial arts, we'll start with martial arts and then we'll go into like cold therapy, because I'm thinking you probably got more experience with, or more years with martial arts, right? Could you tell us like the benefits of studying a martial arts, what it does to your mind, what it does to your confidence level, how it can just give you like that edge in life, and also enlighten us a little bit more about cold therapy or whatever you know about that and how that can help you with, I guess, biologically, like what are the biological things happening, but also how it can just make you a little bit more mentally tough.
Yeah. So I share a story with you when I was in Thailand. So when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot in school for being different. I think a lot of people have that story. So I decided I was done with being bullied and running away from these people I'd done for most of my life. So I flew to Thailand, spent 3 months there, trained 6 days a week, like hours every day. And on the first day, I get there, we go on a 5K run as a warm-up at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and then we go into skipping for like 20 minutes, and then we're into the session. And I remember looking at the clock, and it had gone an hour, and I was done, right? So I'd just done all of this work at really, really early in the morning, and I've just got something in my eye, one sec.
Yeah. It's okay to cry on the show too, man.
Yeah, not starting to cry yet. So we'd done an hour, and I'm like, I'm done, man. It's so hot. These guys are pushing me. And they're like, this white guy's come all the way across the pond. And he's like, right, we're not here to give you an easy time, because they're fighters as well. So they're tough dudes. And they're like, right, if you come in here, you're going to learn. So I went to the toilet, and I was like, do you know what? I'm done, man. Like, I just can't go any further. And I just looked in the mirror and said, did I come all this way to quit? And, I realized that I'd been quitting a lot in my life. So anyway, I got myself together, went back out there and trained for another 2 hours. And I trained hard as well, and I really pushed myself. And what I realized, and the Navy SEALs talk about this, in a way, like your safety mechanism is about 30% when you want to quit. And I went out there and did 2 more hours, which I was completely shocked by. And I left that session, I was like, I've been quitting on, relationships with women. I've been quitting on making enough money. I've been quitting on like my body. Like I've been quitting on all these things in business. I've been quitting jobs too early. And it just showed me that my threshold was twice as far as I thought it was. So that was the biggest lesson I took away from that. And I think martial arts teaches you discipline, teaches you to be humble. The guys over there, the top fighters, were just some hard dudes. But, even with me improving my skill set, I was humble to that point where I kind of knew that I had a skill set, but also there are people well ahead of me. So it didn't mean like I'm the man, but, I can defend myself and my family if I need to, was kind of what I took. And then the cold showers for me are like this daily thing. Most of the day, my safety mechanism in my head, this isn't my personality, but it's like, it's a bit cold today, and let's just skip the cold showers. There's some reason we should skip it today, and I just go bang off we're cold. Now the benefits, if you listed all the benefits of cold showers, improve your immunity, can improve testosterone release, cortisol in the morning to wake you up, improve your body temperature, circulation, that's kind of why I like it, activation, getting it on the brain, getting it on the body in the morning, and your temperature is going to raise, and you feel fantastic, like you're ready to go after that cold shower. And it improves your stress resilience as well. So now your kid goes and knocks over the milk on the carpet after the cold shower, you might just have a little bit more of a stress resilience versus maybe, not having that. So you burn fat as well. So I think the daily practice of doing that is putting yourself through something tough. And, really in effect, it's not that tough, but it's just a little win to start the day. And most days I don't want to do it, but I do it anyway. And I think that's sort of a main take from it. Now, most people freak out about cold showers and they go, oh my God, I can't do it. But ask yourself that question it's cold. It's just cold water, man. Like you're not going to die. You're not going to get injured. So why are we like conceding to that inner voice? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I remember one Christmas, I actually turned my boiler off so I could only do cold at all times, right? So in the coldest season, I just put myself through that. And then after that, I just loved them. And I think what clients I do this with is we add 10 seconds at the end of your shower, add 10 seconds cold, right? So just do 10, next day do 10. After the 3rd or 4th day, you start really enjoying them. You hate them the first few because your nervous system is not used to it. Right. And about the 3-4 day, and you get to about a minute, and they all come back to me, go, do you know what? I'm really enjoying those cold showers. And they're shocked because they were so negative and hesitant to start with. And then boom, they love them. So I would say 95% of people that do that, add 10 seconds every day, get to 60, and now you're getting the benefits of the cortisol, the body temperature rise, and then you feel really awake, and then you're ready to go, man.
Yeah, because that's what I hear, man. And after you do that, you feel amazing. Because there are actual there's a dopamine hit you get or serotonin that you get from that. I gotta try it, man. I'm one of those people who are like, man.
All right, have you ever finished a workout and gone, oh shit, man, why did I work out today, man?
Never. You never.
Yeah,
say
that's
that.
the same
It's
with the cold shower. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And you just did it, and you didn't want to do it, and you did it anyway.
Got you.
And I think that's it. Is the principles of success are turning up on not when you feel like it, but just doing it anyway.
Exactly.
And so it's a nice win every day to do.
I'm gonna give it a shot, man. What are you listening to? I know you work out, stuff like that. What are like 3 songs that like will always be? Do you like music?
Yeah. Big on music. Yeah, I'm listening to music like all day.
What's on your playlist?
So we're in Philly right now. So I've been listening to Meek Mill. He is from Philly, is he?
Yeah,
I don't want to get that wrong. Some Rick Ross, some hip hop. I like hip hop.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a big music person, so I'm always listening.
Okay. Let me ask you this, a fun question I like to ask. Like, what's one of your favorite bands from any era? It doesn't have to be a band, but I say artist band.
All right,
like
Oasis came into my brain.
Oasis?
Yeah, so they're from England, from Manchester.
Okay.
Like a rock band kind of.
What's their first album? Name me their first album.
I don't know, man.
Do you know any group or artists, like the name of their first and second album? Or like you're not that much into music, but you know album names and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's kind of I could see the cover and then I'd sort of try and remember.
Okay, but here's the question. You'll still get the question, right? If you had to come up with 2 albums, right? You're an artist, and the first album, basically, I want you to give me 2 album titles. The first album is talking about your past, right? How you grew up, stuff like that, right? The second album, the theme of that is like where you're going, like who you are now and or where you're going. So what are the names of your first and second album? Remember, the first album is like how you grew up, your past, stuff like that, who you were. Second album is, who you are now, like who you're becoming. What are the titles of those albums?
Good question, man.
Yeah. I've yet to come up with an answer for myself, but
couple of things running around. So one is fuck fear.
What's what you say?
Fuck fear.
Okay.
Because in my younger life, I was too much of a victim. I was
Right.
fearful of things when I just needed to go get after it. So winning that kind of battle.
Right. So that's your second album name.
No, that'd be my first.
The first, okay,
'cause
okay,
we're
okay.
getting first,
Gotcha,
yeah?
gotcha.
Younger
Yep,
and then getting
gotcha.
older. I don't know if it's an app, but fulfillment is helping others.
What's it called? Fulfillment.
Fulfillment is helping others.
It's an album, man. It's an album. I buy it.
Yeah. There's some Tony Robbins in there. Or
Some cameos.
So
Okay.
yeah, something like that.
Dope. So this is what we'll do, because I know you got to book in a little bit. So there's like phases to the show. Yeah. We're in with
All right.
these 2. There's phases to the show. Obviously, we didn't have enough time to get through the phases today. One section, though, I call Classes in Session, and is where I give my guests a chance to give like a mini lesson, mini course, like depending on what you teach.
Yep.
Maybe give us a slice, 2 slices, 3 slices of like, your expertise. So can we do that, right? And you can make it as fast as you need to, right? Because we know you got to catch a flight.
Yep.
And the last question, which we'll do separately, would just be the main point of the podcast, which is leave people with like a piece of advice or, just a nugget that they could sort of like grow from, right? So the first part is, teach us a little bit about, sleep, right? How to improve our sleep. And then we'll do the other part last.
All right, cool. So what I'd actually take a bigger picture view of it. And one of the main focuses I have from, really 17 years of coaching and studying health is the law of individuality. There's a guy called Paul Kirk, who was a forensic scientist and a biochemist. And he said, no 2 entities are the same. So me and you are different. Somebody listening to this is different. And I think that's where coaching or even anything in life, even business, there are nuances to your individual life and what's going on. So the way I look at kind of health and when we're coaching people in a course or one-to-one is the law of individuality. So, how old are you? What are your genetics? What's your health like? What is your social calendar like? All of these things plug in together. What are your goals? What's your life experience? Do you have trauma? Have you been through adversity? Are you an athlete? Are you going for a medal? Are you a business person who's like trying to grow their business? So all of these different elements plug in to giving somebody advice. And I think the main problem with the medical industry is that people are just looking for these quick fixes. These pills are getting sold, they make a lot of money, but do they actually fix the root cause? So I think whatever you're looking for in health, there isn't necessarily that fad diet or that one diet or that carnivore or that keto or that one thing you should do for your evening routine. It's like finding what you need to do, and it's very nuanced into that person. And I think if we can move away from generic advice is tough when you're on a podcast or you're doing a talk, you are speaking to multiple people without knowing them. But if we can tap into saying, actually, let me go try this keto thing, let me go try this carnivore thing, let me go and try this vegetarian thing, and doing blood work and looking at genetics as well, I think play a big role. And if you don't test, you guess is a big part of like what we do. So genetic testing, blood testing, tracking with like these, maybe an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, whatever it might be. And, kind of tracking with data is something I really like to do, because then at least we can look at trends and find the improvements. Law of individuality is a big thing that I'd look at for everybody. And what was the other question?
And then last but not least, man, for one, again, thanks for coming through the show, man. It was great collabing with you. Learned a lot. I took your sleep course twice.
Yeah, he actually like listened to me, did it, and he's like, yeah, I need to stop that caffeine at 2 p.m., man.
Exactly.
So yeah, I expect good sleep after this, man.
For sure. I woke up, drank my liter of water.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
There we go.
Been listening, man, absorbing. So, always gotta say thank you, man, for it was great collabing. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for talking on the show, sharing a little bit of who you are. And the last question / prompt is just leave people, like the audience, whoever comes across this episode, with something they can grow from, whether it's specific to sleep or just good life advice, stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say continue to invest in yourself. Education is growth. Finding people that are ahead of us in certain areas of life, investing in ourselves. I think we become stagnant and we know it, and we start needing to seek goals. And I think stress is positive. If we don't have enough stress, it actually leads to depression. So stress can be positive when we're setting goals that maybe scare us. So mentally going for those stressful goals that we think might not be achievable. Physically pushing our body to the limits and finding that as a positive stress as well. And just continuing to grow. There's so many areas to go onto YouTube, to go onto podcasts, read books that are really cost effective. We used to have to pay to get in these rooms. We're listening to billionaires and people that are doing great things in life, and a lot of it is free now. So I would just say continue to invest in yourself. If it's free videos, if it's books, or sort of increase it from there, but continue to invest because that always has a return on investment for sure.
It's just like that, man. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you
flying,
too, man.
Safe flying, good sleep, man, all that good stuff, good eats. And I'll see you maybe I'll see you on the other side of the world next time, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate you.